Chair, it's 10 o'clock, so we've just gone live, so if you'd like to come in and start the meeting. Thank you.
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this meeting of Licensing and Gambling Subcommittee. Bore da pawb, edrych ymlaen at is-pwyllgor bore yma yn Bryn Bigan. Welcome everybody. I'm Tudor Thomas. I'm chair of Licensing and Gambling Committee, and I will be chairing this subcommittee this morning, 23rd of March at County Hall in Usk, in the council chamber, to look at the application for to decide on an application for a new premises license, Piercefield Park. I'll go to I'll do the apologies for absence and declaration of interest, and then we'll go around the room and on screen for people to introduce themselves so that everybody's aware, who is who. Apologies for absence, Mr. Williams, please.
No apologies received, Chair.
Thanks. Secondly, declarations of interest. No. Well, if somebody realises that they do have an interest, then obviously during the meeting they must declare it. Let's go to introductions. We start at the top with Julian Saunders.
Yes, good morning. Julian Sanders, solicitor at Monmouthshire Council. Thank you.
Richard.
I'm Richard Williams from Democratic Services.
Councillor Neil. Councillor Neil hearing us, or?
Are you with us, Councillor Neil? Councillor Neil, can you hear me? He's online, Chair. I'm just not sure. Councillor Neil, can you press the long bar at the bottom of your screen? That should open up your speaker. I could bring in Councillor Newell, Chair, if that's helpful.
Yes, well, let's go to Councillor Newell while Councillor Neil sorts that little issue out. Councillor Martin Neil, please.
Good morning. Councillor Martin Newell, County Councillor for the Monmouth Town Ward.
Thanks very much. And then if we go to licensing, to Linda and Sam, please.
Morning, Linda Gorman, Principal Licensing Officer.
Samantha Wynne, Licensing Officer.
And can we go now to the guest speakers, if they could introduce themselves in turn, please.
My name is David Neal. I'm a retired chartered surveyor, and I'm a local resident that lives very close by to Piercefield Park.
Okay, thank you. And the next one?
I'm Adam Mahmood, the Director of Jungle Syndicate Limited. I'm the applicant.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, I'm Sarah
Anybody
Keats. Oh, sorry. I'm Sarah Keats. I'm the Production Operations and Safety Officer.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else? No? Okay.
Chair, excuse me, Chair, shall I just see if we can get Councillor Neil into the meeting to make this meeting?
Yes, sorry. Yes, so can you just double check, please?
Councillor Neil, are you with us? Councillor Neil, if you could just click the long bar at the bottom of your screen, that will bring you into the meeting to speak. Chair, I think maybe we might need to give Councillor Neil a call. maybe try and help him join the meeting? Oh,
Yes, can we just hold fire for 1 minute then while you do that, please?
Chair Councillor Newell has just put his hand up. Shall I bring him into the meeting to say?
Yes, please. Yeah, please come in. Councillor Newell, yeah.
You're on mute, Councillor Newell.
Thanks. I've just caught Councillor Alistair Neil on the phone. He's online. He can see us. He can hear us, but he's not able to. You can't hear him, or he thinks you can't see him either. So he can see and hear everything, but you're not hearing him by those.
Is he able to speak? Has he tried speaking to us?
Good question. Just sending him a message.
Okay. Chair, do you want to give us a few minutes to while we sort this out and can join the meeting in a few minutes' time, hopefully?
Yes, we'll just hold fire for 3 or 4 minutes now whilst this technical sort of glitch is sorted out. Because obviously I need to have Councillor Alistair Neil here so that he and obviously that we can hear and see see him. And he can contribute, to the meeting. So let's hold fire for a few minutes.
Councillor Newell, did you have something to say? I just saw you put your hand up.
Thanks, Richard. It was just to say to our friends in the chamber that we are. But I can hear you, see you clearly, so
Okay.
I'll keep chasing Alistair.
Okay, I think we're going to take a 5-minute break now, so I will come back to you all shortly. Thank you.
Thanks.
We've had another gentleman, Sean Hartley, is it, who's made a representation, has just walked into the room. So obviously missed the original introduction. So I'm not sure if you want to redo it, so all people are clear then who's actually taking part in the meeting today.
Yes, okay, thank you, Linda O'Gorman. We'll do that for the benefit of the latest person to join. I'm Tudor Thomas. I'm chair of licensing and gambling, and obviously I'm going to chair the meeting today. Go to Julian, please.
Good morning, Julian Sanders, Solicitor, Monmouthshire County Council. Thank you.
Thanks.
Richard Williams, Public Services.
And then go to Linda O'Gorman and Sam, please.
Linda O'Gorman, Principal Licensing Officer.
Sorry. Samantha Wynne, Licensing Officer.
Okay, and then if we go, I believe we've got 3 objectives. So if we've got some objectives here. So if we go to David Neal.
Retired Charter Surveyor.
And you're an objector, obviously.
Yes, sorry, yes.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, and then is it Adam?
Jungle Syndicate Limited, I'm the applicant.
Okay, and then Sarah.
Hello, I'm Sarah Keats. I'm the Production, Operations and Safety Officer.
And then is it Sean Hartley who's just come in?
Yes, apologies for my lateness. I'm Sean Hartley, local resident.
Yes, and you're obviously here to state your objections.
Yes, I raised concerns through the consultation process.
Okay, thanks very much. Have I missed anybody now? Are we fairly clear?
That's it. Thank you, Chair.
It's Councillor Neil, Chair. Sorry, Councillor Newell.
Councillor Newell, sorry. Thanks. Over to Councillor Martin Newell.
County Councillor Martin Newell, Monmouth Town Ward. For the purposes of confusion, of course, both County Councillor Alistair Neil and myself have very similar surnames. Could we be County Councillor Martin Newell and Alistair Neil? Because Neil and Newell is sounding very, very similar. If that's okay, Chair. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a perfectly reasonable request. That's no problem. Okay. As I stated earlier on, the purpose of this meeting is to look at the application for a new premises licence, Piercefield Park. We've obviously gone through and identified everyone in the meeting, whether on screen or in the chamber. But just to clarify, when I get to people who wish to raise concerns or objections, the standard rule is 10 minutes of time to speak, to put your case. And that is quite a reasonable time. I think one can put in quite a bit of information in 10 minutes. If there is need to slightly extend that, I probably will. But obviously, I'm not prepared to go to sort of 15 or 20 minutes. So I think if in your mind, if you think of 10 minutes as the amount of time that you have allocated, and I will obviously call people in as we go through the meeting, so that we are sort of fair and equitable to all parties. So 10 minutes and then obviously stop. I'll move now then. I say I'm following the standard sort of procedures for these applications. I'm going to hand over now to licensing, and they will present the statement of facts, and they will summarise things like the facts of the applications before the panel, any objections or representations made by responsible authorities, any representations made by other persons, those sections of the government guidance and licensing policy document applicable to the case, and then the statement of facts report. It will not contain a recommendation. The licensing officers are not here in that sense to sort of guide the meeting. When we've gone through the open meeting of the subcommittee this morning, and we will stop, and then we'll go into private session of myself, the two other county councillors, and our legal representative, and then discuss the case, and then come back and make a decision. Obviously, there's time as well for the applicants at the stage this morning. We'll call them in to put their representation. So hand over to licensing. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. Just a few of sort of the legal points really today. You are brought here today, for your application. Are you happy to continue without any legal representation? And have you had sight of the report and the committee procedure as well prior to today? And likewise for the objectors, have you had sight of the report? Can you just clarify? And you've had the fantastic. Okay. You were here as well, Mr. Neil. You did say initially to represent a number of people, but we can't really clarify that. And I sort of pointed that out to you because unless we have an official sort of signature saying that you were representing certain people, then we would bring that in. However, it's not lost because the representation that we received prior today is actually in the main body of the report. At 3.8, it states who's made representation and a summary of those representations. Okay. I'll hand you over now to our licensing officer, Samantha Wynne. She'll go through the body of the report, and as the chair says, then we will go to each individual to give their views on this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. So, good morning, everybody. Everybody's had a chance to read through this very detailed report, so I am only going to give a brief summary. So an application has been received for a new premises licence from Mr Mahood, trading as Jungle Syndicate Limited for Piercefield Park at Chepstow Racecourse. You'll see a copy of the application and plan is attached as Appendix A. The application is for the sale of alcohol Sunday and Thursday midday till 2 a.m, Friday and Saturday midday till 4 a.m. Late night refreshment Sunday and Thursday 11 p.m. till 2 a.m, Friday and Saturday 11 p.m. till 4 a.m. Regulated entertainment then is for Thursday midday till 11 p.m, Friday and Saturday midday till 2 a.m, Sunday midday till midnight. Now this application is for an annual 4-day event each May as illustrated in Appendix B. All licensable activities will be confined within the defined boundaries shown on the plan, which also includes established access routes for emergency vehicles. The applicant has detailed in Appendix A, pages 19 to 21, the conditions he intends to implement to promote the 4 licensing objectives. If granted, the licence will also be subject to mandatory conditions which are attached as Appendix C. The application was circulated to the statutory consultees under the Act, and Gwent Police were the only consultee to make a representation. Gwent Police requested the hours for the supply of alcohol to be amended. They also required a strengthened event management plan, enhanced security measures, a robust drug control procedure, more CCTV and other requirements under safety and the protection of children. The full representation can be seen at Appendix D. The applicant has agreed to all the extra conditions requested by the police and to reducing the hours for the sale of alcohol to Sunday and Thursday 11 a.m. until 1 a.m. and Friday and Saturday 11 a.m. until 2 a.m. Now, the application was advertised at the premises, on the authority's website and in the local newspapers, and as such, 17 representations from other persons were received against the application. However, due to the applicant agreeing to the reduction in hours and the additional conditions, 2 of the 17 representations were withdrawn. Therefore, there are only now 15 representations against the applications, and these representations are attached as Appendix C. The representations that are under the 4 licensing objectives are in relation to, and I'm not going to go into detail because there's pages of noise, antisocial behaviour, safety concerns, alcohol and drug concerns. One representation that referred to the plan shown an area that wasn't owned by Chepstow Racecourse has subsequently been withdrawn, as the applicant has now submitted a new plan, and you'll see this at Appendix F. And this plan will form the licensed area should a licence actually be granted. The representations were forwarded to the applicant who responded to them, which is attached as Appendix G. I'm sure the applicant will go through his response when given the opportunity to do so. At section 3.13 of the report, members are reminded that representations can only be made under the 4 key licensing objectives, which are the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, the prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. Now, Section 9.9 of the Home Office Guidance recommends that in borderline cases, the benefit of the doubt about any aspect of a representation should be given to the person making that representation. A hearing would then provide an opportunity for that person or body making the representation to amplify and clarify it. Section 3.14, members are asked to refer to and consider the revised guidance under Section 182 of the Licensing Act 2003, which is attached to this report as Appendix H. Now, Section 315 of the report states, in accordance with 9.2 of the Home Office Guidance, a hearing is not required when an application has been made and no representations have been made or representations made and subsequently withdrawn. Obviously, this isn't the case, and this is why we're having a hearing today. You'll note at Section 4.3 of the report that it is important under Section 13.10 of the guidance that a licensing authority gives comprehensive reasons for its decisions in anticipation of any appeals. So, just to summarise for you, the hours for alcohol have now been reduced, the plan has been altered from the original application, and additional conditions submitted by the police have also been agreed and are shown as Appendix D. Thank you.
Thanks, Samantha, and the licensing officer, for summarising that report and obviously highlighting the main contents of that report that obviously everybody has had in advance. We'll go to the next section of the procedure. I'll ask and I'll invite representatives of the responsible authorities. I'm not aware that anybody is going to turn up this morning. Gwent Police have withdrawn their objection. They're not going to be present today. The other responsible authorities who sent out the application have not made any objections that I'm aware of. So the responsible authorities, as far as I'm aware now, are satisfied with the application. They've not objected to it. We'll now move to other people who've made relevant representations to address the panel. Now, any address that's made this morning must relate to the representation submitted to the licensing officer prior to the hearing, and may not introduce new representations or evidence. And once that's been done, I will invite any questions from the applicant and responsible authorities, and then the panel made up of myself and the two other councillors. So let's move to the people who wish to make comment. And I've got David Neal, who's a resident and has indicated that he wishes to speak this morning. So I'll hand over now to David Neal.
So my objections are really initially based on historic events that have taken place at Piercefield Park. Just to give you some context of the problems we've had in the past, we've had serious problems with parking, antisocial behaviour, litter and general nuisance. Now, that's not to say that a number of these issues have now been mitigated in this application, which has helped considerably, I have to say. But nonetheless, we've had events in the past where parking has been a serious issue. The first point to say is that when we've liaised with the racecourse people at Piercefield Park, they've promised the residents to do certain things to mitigate a lot of the problems that we've had in the past. So they've closed the roads and they've put people on the end of the road to stop non-residential access and stuff like that. But they actually don't do it. They just stand there and just ignore everything. And then we get loads of cars coming up the street, parking outside our house, blocking our drives. And in a lot of cases, these cars are so old that they put oil all over our drives and everything else. So we've had those issues in the past. They promised to improve next time. And the last event we had last year, I think, was in August. And all the same things happen again, even though there was a lot of activity to try and stop people parking in there, in our road, they still did. Now, I know that within the documentation that we have here, that the event organisers are offering up 100% free parking, I believe, in the racecourse car park. We've had that before, and they still park in our road. Okay, so I still want to know from the event organisers that they will do something to stop that from happening, even though they are offering 100% parking, free parking. So that's to work with the local council and maybe the police to try and mitigate some of these cars from parking in our road. Okay, and in some cases they park along Welsh Street and block that and cause traffic chaos as well. And if you ask the police to help you, they just say, well, there's nothing we can do because it's a public highway, which is fair enough, and I understand that, but it just causes general nuisance and people can't get in and out of their houses. And there are, in a lot of places where I live, quite a number of elderly people who have disabled cars and one thing and another, so it's an issue, okay? So I would maybe like to say, ask the organisers if they would maybe look at that and see what they can do, okay? Secondly, the second issue is the sale of alcohol. Similarly, we've had similar issues, and I do understand the mitigation on this as well. We've had a number of issues with people being drunk and wandering around the streets and damaging cars and stuff like that, and general antisocial behaviour. The police have been called on a couple of occasions and nipped it in the bud, I think, but it still happens. And although I know from this documentation that you can't take alcohol onto the site, that they come from the site and go to the local supermarket and get pretty drunk around that area there, rather than doing it on the premises. So we still have those issues. Now, I don't know how you can stop that, to be honest with you, but I just wanted to raise that as a nuisance issue. Thirdly, we have a huge problem with litter before and after the event, with a number of people circulating in and out of the event location. They drop litter, throw litter, they push food into hedges and throw it into gardens, and in a lot of cases, without getting into too much detail, they do other things in gardens as well, okay? I think you probably know what that is. So again, the police have been called on a number of occasions, but they couldn't do anything because there was nobody there at the time. So I don't, again, to be fair, I don't know how you can mitigate that other than, I don't know, to be honest with you. I'm just raising it as an issue that happens every time we have an event there. The racecourse people always say that they will do something about the litter, but they don't. The local residents the next day form a party. We have to pick it up ourselves and get rid of it. And in some cases, it's quite often food and lots of other things. Other than that, I think that's pretty much my objections. Just having a quick look through my notes here. I know one of the big issues has been noise, and we live in a fairly elevated area, as do a lot of it, because it's quite hilly around there, as you probably know, and the noise travels differently depending to the acoustic levels, and it hits certain houses at sort of high volume and others at low volume, and we're parked on a big sort of mound, and the noise does get quite loud. And although you have mitigated it again to 2 o'clock in the morning, I think, I'm still not happy with that, because there are a lot of elderly residents in my street and it causes some problems. Although I have to say it's not my number one problem, to be honest with you. But I'm speaking not on behalf of other people, but just raising it as an issue that other people have raised to me. So the noise, there's probably a little more conversation to have about the noise levels. I'm not really an acoustics engineer, and I know that you have put a lot of mitigation in place, but I don't know how that would affect the general noise on the day. Sometimes they've had events in the park and the noise has been absolutely really pounding away till early in the morning, and it is quite disturbing. On other events, you can't really hear very much at all. So, although I don't understand acoustics, I just don't know how these levels will affect people. It's hard to say. I don't know, but just raise that as an issue as well. Other than that, I would make one small point, and that is about access to the site and security. I'm not quite sure how you stop infiltrators getting into the site who haven't paid or anything like that, because it's quite a big site, and there's the Wye Valley Walk is along the side of it, and you can easily creep into the site if you want to. And where just where I live, there's an entrance into a wooded footpath in Welsh Street, and I would like to know if the intention is to block that up, because last time we had an event, people went in through there, they camped in the forest area and lit fires, and it caused a problem. The police were called for that, and that was sorted out. So I would like to see that entrance, if we could do it, if we could block that entrance up during the event, so that people can't get in there, and then you easily get access onto the site from there as well. Okay. So I know that you've got some issue. You've got some mitigation in there on security and things like that. But I don't quite know how you're going to stop people from getting into the site. I really don't. So maybe another discussion on that as well, perhaps. So that's pretty much all my points. Then there's nothing unusual there. They're just the same things that we always raise when we have an event on the site. And I have to say, most events have been pretty good. The last one wasn't very good, and I think that's where it all went a bit wrong. So, having raised all those issues, that's me done, really, I think. Okay.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Neil. Thanks for putting your case there. Should we go now to the next resident? It's Sean Heatley.
Sean Hartley, thank you.
Oh, sorry, Sean Hartley.
Not a bother. My fellow neighbours covered so many points, and much of my objection covered the same issues. So in respect to the time we're all investing in this, I'll keep my points to just one major concern, which is around that of noise. So I made the representation, and following my representation, I was supplied with the residents' information pack and mitigation measures. That set out some predicted noise levels to be experienced at nearby sensitive receptors. And my initial concern was over the quoted typical background level experience, presumably in the village nearby, although it wasn't stated. Now, that typical background traffic noise level, I think it was termed, is a daytime level, 42 to 45 dBA. And that might be expected during the day. That's not unreasonable. It's a reasonably busy main road going through the village past the racecourse. The background levels aren't presented in the report. And that's the key time when disturbance is going to be felt. We're talking a 4-day, it's now emerged, it's the long weekend, perhaps not surprisingly. 4 days when we're hoping the weather's good, hoping to be in gardens. We're looking at somewhere between 11 and 14 hours per day for 4 consecutive days where background music is likely to be perceivable. So I just asked the committee to consider that enduring time frame in their review of this. So the background noise at night time would be expected to be close to 30 dBA, and the residence pack suggests that nearby sensitive receptors might experience 39 dBA. That's nearly a doubling of noise levels as experienced. 10 dBA represents a doubling. So I don't see how we can confidently state that's expected to be non-disruptive. So I would like to request more information on what the long duration, because your acoustic consultant Stantec would know that they need to do long duration modelling to ascertain real background levels as experienced at the identified NSRs. When they've done that, they should be assessing the impact of the noise with all the mitigations, which is great. I echo earlier comments on that. Great to see the mitigation has been positively engaged with. But with the committee currently lacking an understanding of the background noise at nighttime level, I think we're back into the concerns about that ongoing disruption till it's well into the night for most people. 2 a.m. even midnight is pushing it for a residential area with a range of ages and expectations of reasonable private enjoyment of personal space. It's a time of year when we've got windows open at night as well, of course. Now, just again for the committee's benefit, really, the applicant will be well aware the governing British standard on noise assessment suggests that a difference of only 5 dBA is likely to become a nuisance. we're potentially talking about, I don't have measured background noise levels at night, but it's expected to be significantly below what those are quoted in the report. So we're expecting to be into nuisance zone. And I'd like to hear from the applicant what more may be done to present relevant background noise information for the more sensitive times of day, please. Because that's not made in the report as presented. And I think it's absolutely pertinent to the decision being made today. So yeah, that's the main cause, because so much has been ably covered earlier. I would suggest the committee could have options to consider with the applicant a range of measures, including an earlier finish time to help mitigate that. I don't know why. I've been to music events. I know they like to finish early in the morning. I get that, but I don't know why it's relevant after 14 hours, 12 hours of music. We still need to keep going into the early hours. Could we not just finish earlier, given where we are? So there's an option I would suggest for the committee to consider that as a negotiation point. I do think it's relevant that the applicant provides the relevant noise data, and we're currently lacking that. And then one final point I'll make, please, excuse me, is that as this is a new event for a new promoter, I did suggest, and I would just reinforce the suggestion of a trial period for one event, noting that the application covers up to 5,000 people, 4,999. But you've noted, again, appreciated that it would start small, but then the inference is that it will build. I know some of your other events cater for up to a couple of thousand people. So as that attendance builds, so will the impacts of parking, of noise, of late night disruptions, people leaving the site if they're not camping, and so on. So yeah, I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you for that. Do you have any other residents who wish to speak?
There's no other residents, Chair.
Yes. Is it Mr. Green?
There's no other residents here.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for that. Any questions now from the applicant about the representation that's been made? The applicants will obviously have an opportunity to speak, but if they want to ask any pertinent questions, they may do so at this stage. No? Any questions from the panel at this stage? Councillor Martin Newell or Councillor Alistair Neil? Councillor Alistair Neil, do you want to come in?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Thank you, and thanks very much for the overview. And obviously, we've read the background paper. So, a couple of questions around it, if I may. Thank you, Chair. For such a substantial event, which would presumably attract people of all ages, would it not be important for us to have an understanding whether any applicant is a suitable person to handle such an event, to handle such responsibilities, covering everything from the consumption of alcohol, the security of large numbers of people, unspecified but large numbers, and all the other issues that have been detailed in the report, and some of which the local residents have mentioned this morning. So I have no understanding of whether or not the applicant is a suitable person for such responsibilities. Having looked to see if there's any background information available to us as a panel in the registration of the company in Companies House, I note that it appears to have been registered for the first time as a company on the 6th of January this year, and therefore there are no accounts already filed. Again, which raises the question, the obvious question about is this a suitable basis on which an organisation should be able to extend the application for something that would involve very substantial financial risk, I would imagine. So those as a starting point, if I may, and there are quite a lot of questions I have, but I'll try and contain them to the top ones. It is not clear from the report, and it's not clear at all to me, why such an event should have such late opening hours. Looking at other major events of a similar nature, if you take the most widely known one, which is set in the countryside of Glastonbury, the curfew hours there are for midnight on Friday and Saturday, and 11:30 p.m. on Sunday. And as one of the residents has stated, it's an important question. I think we need to understand why there should be such late opening hours for such an important event set in the countryside. The questions that have been posed by the earlier speakers certainly they cover many of the questions I have. But one of the questions that I haven't heard posed is if there are large numbers of people attending, what happens at the end of each day's event or each early morning's event as they're currently scheduled? It would appear from the documentation that there's a mixture of the crowds disperse and others camp locally. Those who camp locally, do we know what the conditions are? Do we know what the sanitation is? Do we know what the appropriate locations are and what numbers there would be to do that? And those who would disperse presumably would not be dispersing in any public transport, but in their own transport. And what sort of controls would be in place if there is such a lengthy period of alcohol consumption available would be a pretty obvious concern. So, really like to understand just what happens to the crowds. And just finally for this part, the numbers that are expected they seem very vague. What are the sorts of expectations of numbers of attendees at the event, such that we can get some kind of sense of scale? Are we talking about less than 1,000? Are we talking about between 1,000 and 5,000? Are we talking about over 5,000? The numbers become very important in understanding the scale and the potential impact. So those questions just now, with the possibility of others at a later stage, but I certainly would like to hear the answers to the questions that have been raised by the earlier speakers. Thank you.
I can come in a moment, Chair, before we go any further with these questions. With regards to the company and financial matters, that is not something that gets taken into consideration under the Licensing Act. When the Licensing Authority process an application, they do it under the guidelines of the Licensing Act itself, and the company is registered, so therefore the application has to be accepted. And I'll mention as well, there was stuff on sort of noise, traffic management sort of element as well. That would be covered in the Event Safety Advisory Group, and I note in 3.4 of the report is a referral by the applicants, and I'm sure they'll go into more detail on that, which actually says that all sort of events will be 12 weeks will be put before the Event Safety Advisory Group, and that's a much wider group than the consultees under the application of the Licensing Act, and that includes traffic management. So I just want to make that point before we go any further, Chair.
Thanks. Can I just sort of, in a sense, ask, as Councillor Neil said about the applicant being suitable, to handle this event? What evidence would licensing look at in terms of that sort of criteria?
We would look to see, is the actual company a registered company? And that if that is the case, then we have to accept it under the Licensing Act. With regards to the designated premises supervisor, that's the person that's ultimately in charge of the alcohol sales. That person is sort of checked for suitability category. As you can imagine, with large companies, you could have quite a number of people that's involved, so you wouldn't look at every individual itself, as long as the company itself is registered under the Licensing Act. That would be a further matter if there's any fraud or other investigations. That would be a matter for a police matter rather than the Licensing Act application itself.
But at this stage, just to clarify, that there is nothing that licensing has discovered that would make the company putting forward the plan as it were unsuitable to apply for this license, with criminal convictions or etc.
That is correct, Chair.
Okay, thanks. Councillor Neil, are you happy with those responses? Or do you want to come back?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I accept the responses in terms of the remit of the committee on the basis of the advice just given by the officer. It does seem to me that those are questions that residents would very reasonably want to understand answered. But hence I raised them. But thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. We go now then to County Councillor Martin Newell.
Councillor Newell, could you press your button again, please? We've lost you.
Yeah, Councillor Newell, yeah.
All right now? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes, I can hear you.
There we are. Thank you. My apologies. New technology. A lot of my points have already been covered by my county councillor colleagues. I had a very few small additional questions to those comments. A lot of the issues sounds to me that in the past there may have been a lack of stewarding. I know if I go to a sporting event or if I go to a music event, or whatever it is, there's lots and lots of stewards around. So I'm looking for some details about the stewarding and the managing of the event. The other reasons, if promises were made on other events to close roads, why wasn't that done? And what will be done to make sure that roads could be closed for this event? And I also just wanted to compare another local sort of festival, the Borden Festival, which was very, very successful up in Penalt last year. And they had similar concerns and similar issues regarding their events. And I know that they changed their itinerary a bit, whereas the loud music for the residents, and I live in Penalt, stopped at 11 p.m. Now, but that wasn't the end of the festival. What they did then, they changed to a silent disco and that type of event at 11 p.m. So there was no noise to the residents. And then at 12 o'clock, they had a DJ there, and it was in a closed environment. So the organisers there seem to have taken on board the feedback from the locals about noise, and they adjusted their plans. And I just wonder, within this plan, is that something that we could do to mitigate the residents' concerns about noise pollution? So noise mitigation, road safety and stewarding are the three things that I would like more information about as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Newell. Do licensing want to come back in on this, or do the applicants want to say something on this?
There's nothing from licensing regarding that, because it's down to sort of the road closures and a number of aspects, which I'm sure the applicants will go through thoroughly how they want to mitigate any sort of issues that's been raised.
Okay, thanks for that. Are you happy with that, Councillor Newell?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Councillor Neil, do you want to come back in?
Yes, please, Chair. I was cut off before I could say, look, only one of my questions, or possibly two of my questions, were addressed earlier. So the other questions that I raised that were not addressed were, what happens to the attendees at the end of each day's events? Is there an expectation of large numbers staying in tents? Is that local? Is sanitation part of the plan? Appropriate levels of sanitation? What happens to them? And separately, how would the dispersal of others by car be controlled from the point of view of alcohol being freely available for so many hours? I asked about what scale of attendee numbers there would be. And I asked about why would we not have an earlier finish yeah, alongside, very much in keeping with many other major external events in the open countryside. Those questions were not responded to when I asked them.
Okay, thanks. Licensing, do you want to make any further comment on this?
No, Chair, I think that'll be a matter for the applicant to sort of address, and the proposal of why it is an earlier finish, and how they intend to manage it to be their management of the event, and not for licensing.
I think in terms of clarity, if people are happy, sorry, Julian, would you like to come in?
Yes, I was just going to say, normally questions for the applicant are normally presented after the applicant has put forward their case and their representation submission. So I think it's probably up to the applicant now if they wish to respond to Councillor Neil at this stage, or would they prefer to answer his questions following the submission of their case.
I'm glad you came in there, but my suggestion, if people were happy, would be that at this stage we hold fire with those particular questions. They're very much to the applicant and not to the people putting forward the objections. So if people are happy, if the committee are happy with that we hold fire until we get to the point where the applicant or his or her representatives put forward their case, and then they can pick up these questions. So I assume the applicant is happy with that procedure, and I hope that Councillor Neil is. Yes, sorry, the applicant coming in.
I'd like to respond to the questions now, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Is this David Neal?
Yes. So regarding the size of the event, it's for 999 people. We actually met up with the ESAG group earlier this month. We proposed our plans, which included a very detailed event management plan, steward plan, security plans, noise management plans, the public right-of-way plans. We have all of these documents with us here. We did discuss these with the ESAG group. There were some comments, and they're live working documents, so we work with them to make sure that all plans are in line with what the council expects and what would be safe for members of the public. In terms of capacity, it's 999 people. There will be 25% so there's a 1:25 ratio for security and stewards and performers that will also be part of that capacity. In regards to camping, it's a 3-day overnight camping. So there's ingress on the Friday. There's a traffic management plan that ensures that there's no build-up of traffic on public highways, and it's all managed internally within the Chepstow estate. So there's not likely to be extra traffic or queues, and this has all been reviewed by the ESAG group, who know the local area a lot better than everyone else, and work with other events and know where the pinch points are. In terms of myself as a character with background checks, essentially, I am the designated premise supervisor. So I've gone through a DBS check. I've got my personal license. So all of that has been validated. And in terms of the limited company aspect, and I know we shouldn't be discussing this, but it was set up in line with setting up the festival. We did operate under a different company, which is still active, which you're welcome to look into, which has been active for 12 years. And that a lot of the previous events will run through there. But as a festival, as a new entity that we're entering into with insurances and liability, we wanted to start a new organisation. And in terms of financing the event, we've already sold 500 tickets for the event. And we're not going to scale very quickly. We want to scale to 999 people to keep it manageable and scale very slowly. I do not expect this to turn into a 5,000 or 10,000 event in the short term.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for coming back on that. We'll now move on to item number 7 on the sort of procedure paper for these subcommittee meetings. We look or draw attention to the admissible written representations lodged by the responsible authorities. And the only one that has responded there is Gwent Police. From looking at the documentation, those recommendations by Gwent Police have been accepted. There are something like 17 responses, which I don't intend, to go through, because people had these in advance. But in summary, most of the residents who live in that locality have commented or responded on issues which we've had by two representatives today, two residents who've actually come to the chamber to speak to the committee. Issues about noise, issues about antisocial behaviour, issues about consumption of alcohol and drugs. And I think those are the main objections. And obviously the hours that live music will be played at this event. I don't think there's anything much more that I want to say. I don't know if Julian Saunders, our legal representative, wants to say anything about the written responses before we go to the applicant to give their point of view.
No comments from legal. Thank you.
Okay. So, people have got them there. They are quite lengthy, taking some time to read through since the papers have been published. So I think we're all fully aware what the issues are in terms of this proposed event. I'm going to hand over now to the managing director of the company that wish to put forward this application, and they will address the panel and, as they see fit, submit relevant evidence. And then after that, we will then have questions, an opportunity to question them from the people, two residents who turned up, and from the two county councillors who are here. So I hand over now to the managing director and his representatives to put their case for putting through this application today. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Adam Mahmood and I am the Director of Jungle Syndicate Limited. I'm joined today by Sarah Keats, our Production, Operations and Safety Officer. We're here today to discuss the representations received for our arts and music event, proposed to be held annually each May in Piercefield Park. Jungle Syndicate is not a new venture. We have been bringing communities together through art and music for 18 years. I started this when I was 19 years old, and today at almost 37, our audience has grown up with us. Our average attendee age is 35 years old. These are professionals, teachers, doctors and artists who share a passion for the outdoors and music. We've organised 300 events globally over the last 18 years. Our management team brings decades of safety and operational expertise to Chepstow. We aren't here with a team of expensive lawyers to push through an application. We're independent organisers who believe that everyone should have the opportunity to celebrate their passions, whether that be hiking, gardening, art or music. We want to be an asset to Chepstow, not a chore. We chose Piercefield Park because of its natural beauty and established history as an event space. We did so with full understanding of our responsibilities to the local residents and the surrounding environment. Before discussing our specific mitigations, I want to highlight a crucial point. Neither Gwent Police nor the Council's Environmental Health Officer have raised an objection to this application. We've worked proactively with Gwent Police to agree on a comprehensive set of conditions regarding security and public safety. Furthermore, our noise management plan has been reviewed by Michael Richardson from Environmental Health and found to be technically sound without any conditions deemed necessary, including the 2 a.m. finish on Friday and Saturday nights. In response to the representations, we understand the following concerns have been highlighted: late night noise and bass, traffic and parking in Welsh Street, Piercefield Avenue and nearby roads, antisocial behaviour and litter, environmental protection including SSI areas, the Wye Valley area of natural beauty and the public right of way. Our aim is to be transparent about what we're requesting, what we have voluntarily limited, and how we will be held accountable. Our goal is to work with the wider community to ensure a safe, sustainable and non-nuisance event. We've been working with the Council and the ESAG to ensure the 4 licensing objectives are at the core of our strategy. It's important to distinguish this event from others held on this estate. While this site is capable of hosting 10,000 plus people, we've intentionally limited our footprint. Our capacity is capped at 999 people. This is 1/10 of the size of other festivals held on Piercefield Park. We've limited our stages to 3 small controlled stages compared to 10 plus stages used by larger events. For the first event at this location, we've voluntarily capped our capacity and duration to just 3 show days, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so we can manage the site with precision, monitor impacts, prevent any nuisance to the community. Fewer attendees means fewer vehicles, fewer incidents, fewer pressure points, allowing tighter control of sound checks, monitoring and rapid intervention. These limits are in place to reduce impact on the local area and to ensure that noise, traffic, perimeter management and welfare can be controlled and supervised to a high professional standard. To help visualise our plans, we've included a site plan in Appendix G of the subcommittee documents. We recognise that noise, particularly late night bass, is the primary concern for residents. We've therefore designed the event around predictable, measurable, independently controlled noise management. This is not an ad hoc approach. Prior to submission, we commissioned a formal noise impact assessment and produced a detailed noise management plan using consultants with extensive experience at Chepstow Racecourse. We reduced nuisance at source before relying on operational controls. We have limited the number of sound sources to a maximum of 3 small controlled stages. All sound sources are aimed away from residential receptors. We've deployed the use of advanced PA configurations, including cardioid subarrays, to reduce rearward bass propagation. Sound is managed by experienced engineers with agreed limits and clear escalation routes. To ensure this is managed consistently and fairly, noise control is not left solely to the event organisers. We are using an external noise management company, so monitoring and compliance decisions sit with specialists, not event organisers. Decibel limits and monitoring locations will be set and enforced via the noise management plan and licensing conditions. Live off-site monitoring will be placed at sensitive locations, which will provide continuous remote readings. Engineers can use this data to reduce levels as soon as readings approach trigger points, and all actions are logged. Our modelling indicates predicted sound levels at key residential receptors of approximately 39 dBA. Typical local background traffic noise is approximately 42 to 45 dBA. I take note that we can also additionally do a background noise assessment during nighttime hours as well, to review what those background noise levels are to ensure that we can stay within them. This means that the event is expected to be below background noise levels at the nearest receptors and expected to be inaudible or non-intrusive to residents. All monitoring and interventions will be documented and available for scrutiny, and we will work with Environmental Health and Council to evidence compliance. We've included our noise modelling and predicted sound levels at residential areas with Appendix G of the subcommittee documents. We understand that traffic and parking in Welsh Street, Piercefield Avenue and nearby roads is a key concern. We have designed the event traffic plan to be predictable, controllable and enforceable with clear focus on preventing nuisance to residents. Representations consistently highlight the same practical issues arising from other events in the area: vehicles parking on residential streets, access routes narrowed by inconsistent virgin pavement parking, obstructed driveways and junction visibility, risk of delayed access for emergency vehicles. Our approach is simple: remove the incentive to park in the village, make the correct behaviour the easiest behaviour, and actively manage the residential interface. We propose free on-site parking. Fly parking commonly happens when attendees are trying to avoid high parking fees or when residential streets feel closer than designated parking. So there'll be 100% free on-site parking. There'll be clear arrival routing. We'll have patrols on Welsh Street, Piercefield Avenue, and nearby roads. I welcome you to take my direct email so we can discuss other streets we can include in this. I don't want to be a problem. I want to be supportive so we can work together. I think you'll find it quite rare for an event organizer, a director who's so passionate about what I've done for the last 18 years, to be giving you my direct email and to trying to respond to all of this. I just want to make this work. So please, I hope you do get in touch with me and we can try and make this work. In regards to the public right-of-way and SSI, we treat Piercefield Woods, the SSI and the wider Wye Valley area of natural beauty as protected assets. We understand residents' concerns about litter, boundary damage, disturbance to wildlife and unmanaged use of sensitive routes. Our approach is to contain activity within the managed event area and maintain strong boundary integrity and operate clear, briefed controls that can be audited and enforced. We'll prevent drift into sensitive areas and manage the public right-of-way in a clear, lawful and safe way during show days. We will do this by a robust, continuous event boundary with staffed gates and agreed entry points. Our steward and security ratio is very high. We showed it to the ESAG group and they were very impressed by how many people we have supporting the event. All the stewards and security are briefed on exclusion areas and escalation procedures. We've requested the least disruptive diversion option using the council approved diversion template for previous events. This route is commonly used by walkers in Piercefield Park already. The site plan in Appendix G shows the diversion route. Diversion points will be clearly signed with key interfaces stewarded and marshalled to minimise interactions with sensitive areas and event operations. Finally, we want to highlight our community benefit fund. We want to leave a positive local legacy. We have pledged 10% of net profits to a local community benefit fund. The fund will be allocated across Gwent Wildlife Trust, supporting care and maintenance of the Piercefield SSI, St Arvan's community projects, funding for local parish and community initiatives, Monmouthshire Arts, supporting local grassroots musicians and arts activities. We also welcome other funds that we could allocate this money to, and again, my emails are open. I'm happy to have open dialogues to where you feel like this money could go towards. We're also actively seeking arts and grant funding to strengthen sustainability and cultural initiatives linked to the event. We'll communicate our outcomes clearly so residents can see what was funded and why. Thank you for your time today. I welcome any questions you may have.
Thanks. Yes, thanks, Mr. Mahmood, for that fairly comprehensive presentation. I'll just invite questions now from the people in the room, the two people who spoke earlier on. Are there any issues that you would wish to raise before I go to ask whether there are any further questions or comments from the county councillors?
Couple?
Yes, come in.
The first one is something I mentioned earlier on, and that is how are you going to enforce security around the whole perimeter? Because once the event is known to be active and live and ongoing, you will get lots and lots of people trying to break in illegally at some point, during the night mainly, which is, they had probably a 10 or 15% gross number of people on the site at the last festival because of that. And I just wanted to know what you can do, bearing in mind there is the Wye Valley Walk adjacent to it and other public rights of way, how you can actually make that work. Okay.
Thanks. Mr. Mahmood, do you want to come back in on that?
Yeah, sure. We will review the entry points to the Wye Valley Walk, and it sounds like you're very knowledgeable of what's happened previously. So maybe we could pick this up via email, and I can make sure that it's stewarded day night. We can review whether to put an SIA security there or a steward, a volunteer, to help enforce that. The site will be we'll have a fence boundary as well, and there'll be key points there that we will have overnight stewards or SIA security managing it. The ratio of SIA security is 1 to 100. Our steward ratio is much higher. We can review those numbers as we detail our event management plan. And I'm happy to send you the event management plan as well. Just, yeah, of course. As I always say, I don't want to be a nuisance. And you've said some events have been very, very good, and I want to be one of the good events.
Okay, thanks. And any other comments from the two people who've come in to speak today? No?
Yes, sorry if I could add. Beg your pardon. I raised my hand in the room without having a hand raise function online available. So thank you for the presentation, and I'm pleased to hear that you want to work with the community. That's refreshing, frankly. I'd like to pick up on just a couple of points. You mentioned today, I think you've qualified that you're offering 100% free parking for attendees. So I can just get confirmation that is the case. So I saw the offer of free parking being available to people in the residence pack. So I was curious. I went onto the website, the event website, and I was offered parking options ranging from about £11 up to over £40 to park. And this, I think it was the right website. All the sense checks, obviously you can't advertise the location yet because you're not licensed, but it was, within an hour of Bristol. It's Welsh countryside, not English. That's the one. So just to confirm, all guests will be offered free parking is my first question. And then if I may just build on a second question before you come back on either. You acknowledge that you haven't got nighttime background levels. So can we have any confidence in the statement in your application that, quote it, the event is expected to be inaudible or non-intrusive at receptors? Can we have confidence in that statement, given you haven't produced background nighttime levels? Two key questions. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Mr. Mahmood, do you want to come back in?
Yes, please. Thank you. Regarding the free parking, so when the festival was launched, it was actually going to be at a different location where we were charging for parking. And obviously, as today, we're seeking a license. So as soon as hopefully the license gets approved, we are going to open the Chepstow Racecourse regular parking as the free parking option. People can pay an extra fee to park closer to the camping zone. That's how we plan to do that, and that's the strategy that we will have going forward. And I think parking on Piercefield Avenue or Welsh Street, compared to the racecourse car park, the distance is exactly the same. So that's how we plan to do that, and that's why you maybe saw that parking was being sold. And at your second point for background noise levels, so the noise consultant company that we're using are called Stantec. They worked at Chepstow Racecourse for 5 years. When we asked them about background noise levels at night time, they said it wasn't necessary because they've already achieved this. And last year at an event, they showed us the noise management summary, which is a list of all of the complaints, the noise levels that it hits at certain times, and of all the stages, what actions were logged. Last year, we note that this festival only had 2 residents call in to say, what's going on? I'm hearing some noise, and some actions were logged. Sound systems were tuned, turned down, things such as this, and the problems were resolved. So we used this noise management company because of their experience, and they told us we can achieve exactly what we need to do, and especially for what the licensing levels are. We spoke to Michael Richardson as well during the entire process. I don't want to put on an event where the music's going to be really quiet. We've all been to music events, and that's not our offering. I also want to address why we've gone for 2 a.m. rather than midnight. We feel like if we close at midnight, there's a high chance that people will continue to drink, and sound systems appear in like the camping zones. And although we will police this and ensure that that doesn't happen, we feel like 2 a.m. was a better wind down time for that to happen. We actually were asking for the bar stage to stay open until 4 a.m., which we brought back to 2 a.m. to be in line with closing everything at 2 a.m. and everyone retreats back to the camping zones. It's worth noting that the camping zones are a bit closer to the residential areas, so that's why I was trying to avoid that from happening. I hope that answers your questions.
Okay.
Partly, thank you. I'm slightly dubious about the advice you're getting that we haven't had noise complaints. I think that may be influenced by the availability of complaints numbers. That clearly the closure of any council numbers over the weekend save some of the patrolling Stone-Tech individuals or previous company names. So I would suggest, if I may, sorry, Chair, just to make sure people know where they can call, who they can call. I've had the acoustic monitors out near my property, and he's confirmed it's about 20 dBA over background in the past. So, and that's direct line of sight property. So I know that, and he said literally, there's nothing more I can do. We've turned it down as far as we can go. So there's so much influence by the weather conditions, the prevailing wind. So I suggest we look at different wind directions in that modelling as well, please.
Okay, thanks. Okay, thanks for that. I move now. See, County Councillor Alistair Neil wishes to make a comment or ask a question. So, County Councillor Alistair Neil.
Thank you, Chair. And first of all, if I may say, thank you very much indeed for the applicant's statement, and really appreciate the tone and the engagement with which it's very clear that he and his company are seeking to deliver an event which meets the needs and the requirements of not only legal requirements, but those of the local community. So I do appreciate the approach that he manifestly is taking. I am, however, still not clear about just a few of the points I raised earlier. So in terms of those attendees who will not leave the site entirely but stay overnight in tents locally, what sort of environment is set up for that? Is there sanitation properly established? And the reasons why that is important are pretty obvious for all the reasons, but one of our representations this morning was indicating that the history of such events is that people who have not parked in the free car park, they have used hedges and garden borders as toilets. I didn't hear those precise words, but the implication was there. So, it really is important to understand how that would be controlled. Separately, I'm not clear why it would be appropriate to extend the opening hours to 2 o'clock in the morning for the up to 999 people who would be attending this event, whereas other events are well able to control that closing at an earlier time, such as I indicated earlier, midnight on Friday and Saturday, 11:30 Sunday, but during the week. Equally reduced hours from those extended hours. It doesn't seem to me we'd be dealing with different people, and if it can be controlled elsewhere within those hours, why on earth could that not be the case with this event? That does, I think, need to be responded to. Just on the issue of the numbers, I have made a note of the numbers of stewards ratio. I think was stated as 1 to 25, which would make it 40 stewards if there are 900 up to 999. And by the looks of things, the ticket sales look like it's heading in that direction. So those 40 stewards would need to be much more than simply people wearing tabards and possibly high-vis tops. They would need to be trained and be capable of intervening in particular areas and particular matters, and that ranges from any medical emergencies through to security issues as well. So would those 40 stewards be properly trained? And would they be in addition to security, which I think I heard a ratio of 1 to 100 for security, which would make it 10 security, but I wasn't absolutely clear on that point. It would be helpful to have clarity. So those questions, please, Chair.
Okay, thanks. So if we go back now then to Mr. Mahmood to address those issues, please.
Yep, sure. So the event management plan that we submitted to the ESAG group was for 999 public attendees and 250 supporting staff, which includes stewards, security, performers, etc. So the event management plan, the security plan, and the steward plans are available on the council's platform, and we can meet with the ESAG group every month. Our demographic is 35 years old. People urinating in the street, just disorderly behaviour. You don't really get that with our age group, and we have no desire to reduce that to 18 to young 20-year-olds. We really are a small community of people that have grown over time, and it's friends of friends. So I really hope that won't happen. We have provisioned suitable sanitary around the site. There's a high ratio of toilets. There's food, there's welfare, there's sufficient waste management. It's all detailed in our event and safety plans. I wonder if I could send you a copy to review, because it will detail everything. I hope that helps and answers that question.
Okay. Councillor Alison, do you want to come back?
Yes, thank you. I really do appreciate that. And I'm not trying to be obdurate with this. I'm just trying to be as clear as possible in understanding it. So you mentioned earlier, I think, a ratio of 1 to 25 for stewards. So without delving into the plan, that would make it, if there are 999, 40 stewards. My question was, would they be skilled up, and would security be in addition? You mentioned 250 staff in total, but you said that includes quite a large number of different groups, and I think you mentioned entertainers. So if it's 1 to 25 stewards, if that is the steward ratio, the question around the training and their capability of intervening. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. Mr. Mahmood, do you want to come back very briefly on that?
Yeah, hi, I'll step in on this one. I've
Okay,
got
thanks.
around 15 years of training people on event sites for everything from terrorism controls and crowd safety management to medical advice, and we'll be giving every single one of our stewards that training well in advance as well.
Okay, thanks. Okay. Councillor Neil, do you want to come in? Oh, sorry, Julia, would you like to come in at this point?
Yeah, I think just so we can progress the hearing, I think it's probably important that the applicant or Ms Keats addresses the question just raised by Councillor Neil in respect to the question, how many stewards in respect to the ratio, and how many security and the ratio. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Saunders. Thanks. Mr. Mahmood, do you want to come back in that? Or
Yeah, sure. So, in terms of security, it's 1 to 100 as agreed with Gwent Police. Stewards, we haven't agreed on a specific number at the moment. We are looking at about 50 to 100 stewards at the moment. As our event plans progress, we are talking to the ESAG group to figure out the exact points that need to be managed. I also take take count of some extra areas that we might need to manage from the representations today. So this number isn't concrete at the moment. It's the number that we are predicting. I hope that answers the question.
Can I intervene? Like, in terms of clarity, when you say stewards, are these people who are trained security staff, as opposed to volunteers or whatever? Because I think that is quite an important question. The actual number of trained security staff who are going to be there to manage the event. But I think that's a very important issue, I think, for this committee. So if you could clarify that would be useful.
Yes, all stewards will go through a training process based on what they are doing at the festival, whether that's helping to steward traffic, whether that's helping operating the bar, or just managing perimeters. They'll all be trained accordingly. And SIA will all have gone through SIA training and have appropriate badge numbers, which all will get submitted to Gwent Police. Our head of security is in contact with Gwent Police to organise that.
Okay. So just to be clear, when you say SIA trained people, how many of those will be actually there?
Absolute minimum is 1 to 100 people, as agreed with Gwent Police.
Okay, thank you.
If I can just put a point in here, Chair. Part of the conditions in 3.4 of the application form, one of the conditions that the applicant has stated that they're going to put on their licence if it's granted today is training and accountability. Prior to each event, all staff will receive documented training on the premises licence conditions, including a mandatory Challenge 25 policy. Training records signed and dated by staff to confirm understanding will be maintained and made available for inspection by responsible authorities. An up-to-date incident log will be maintained on site, detail the time, date and description of any incident. The applicant will attend a separate debrief meeting after an event has taken place if required by ESAG. Just want to point that out, that would formulate part of the condition of the licence as well. And the other point as well, the application is for, they can't go above 999 because the application hasn't been made for that. They would go into different fee banding, so they are restricted on to the numbers that if it's granted today.
Yeah, so they can't go above the 999 people. That's the absolute maximum. Okay, thanks. I see Councillor Martin Newell wants to come in. Do you want to come in, Councillor Newell?
For his presentation. Mine was just a simple question on the steward and security, because that's my sort of biggest, not concern, but that's the area I'm looking at. Excuse my dog in the background. Nelly, you're talking about 40, well, the number of stewards you've got, of course, this is a three or 4 day event, and these stewards will need a break. So are we talking about the number of stewards on duty at times? So you'll have actually more stewards available to you, because there will have to be shift patterns here. So I'm just a little bit concerned that these people will need breaks. They can only do a limited amount of shifts. So we might need some mitigation there with some extra stewards just to take over, even if they're all doing 12-hour shifts. And sorry about Nelly, my rest.
Okay. Mr. Mahmood, do you want to come
sorry,
back
Chair,
in
I
on
just wanted to clarify. I've just noticed the fee banding on the application here. To go into the next fee banding where they pay an extra 1,000 on top, they have to go above 5,000. So the maximum could be 499, but obviously but obviously they've stated today that it won't go above 999. But I just wanted to clarify they have to pay that.
Okay, thanks for that. I don't know, Mr. Mahmood, if you want to come back briefly on Councillor Martin Newell's point.
So in regards to the stewarding schedules, all of our stewards work a maximum of a 12-hour shift that is often broken down into 2 6-hour shifts to ensure sufficient breaks between working. There is also catering provided for all of our stewards. Stewards opt into either 12-hour shifts or a 6-hour shift split across 2 different times at the festival.
Okay.
And, they'll be working all around the clock. We'll detail sort of when there is a higher number of people that need to be active for certain peak times during the festival.
Okay, thanks for that. We move now to the last point, the last item on the sort of procedural paper for this subcommittee. Do the 2 representatives want to make any further comment at this stage?
No, nothing from me. Thank you.
Okay, nothing at this stage. Okay, thanks for that. And the applicant, do you want to, sort of in any way sum up your case or to make any further? I mean, it must be brief at this stage. Mr. Mahmood?
Yes, please. I'll keep this very brief. To conclude, I would like to reiterate that Jungle Syndicate is built on 18 years of experience. We're a community of responsible professionals with an average age of 35 years old. We're proposing an event that is 1/10 the scale of other festivals mentioned in the representations today. We're committed to controlled, sustainable growth, not overnight disruption. Crucially, this application stands before you with the support of Gwent Police and Environmental Health. We have provided a robust noise management plan and voluntary limits that go above and beyond what is required. We believe that an established, privately owned venue like Chepstow Racecourse and Piercefield Park is exactly where events of this nature should be held. These spaces are purpose-built to facilitate community and art in controlled environments, allowing us to apply the professional precision and oversight that we have detailed here today. Regarding the public right-of-way, we recognise the importance of access, but we must also recognise that Piercefield Park is a private estate that supports the local economy. We've been extremely mindful of this balance. We have voluntarily moved our subsequent event dates away from the bank holiday to mid-May to avoid peak walking times. The proposed diversion is for only 3 days, ensuring the safety of both our attendees and the public, and it follows a route already commonly used by locals. We want to be a long-term partner of Chepstow. We ask the committee to look at the technical details we've provided, the support of the responsible authorities, ESAG Group, and our commitment to give back to the local community. We ask that you support this application so we can bring this unique art and music community to Monmouthshire in a way that is safe, respectful and professional. Thank you for your time and we look forward to your decision.
Thanks, thank you for that. We've now come to the end of this subcommittee session, and what will happen now? The people in the chamber will leave, and it will be down to myself as the chair and my 2 councillor colleagues, Councillor Alistair Neil, Councillor Martin Newer, and the MCC legal advisor, Mr. Julian Saunders, who will be advising us during the proceedings to consider the case and then to reach a conclusion, and then we will come back into the chamber either virtually or in person, and the decision will be given, and the legal advisor, Mr. Julian Saunders, will give the rationale for our decision. So thank you all for attending this first session. We'll now go into the private session and then come back.
Excuse me, Chair, the applicant would like to say a word, if that's okay.
Yes, by all means.
I have the event management plan, our steward plans, our public right-of-way plans and child safety policy, all the documents with me here today. Would it be useful to give this to you to help in your decision today?
Perhaps if I can come in on that, Chair. I notice, because obviously it's going to be quite a lengthy document, and if this licence is granted today, it'll be a lifetime licences. in the condition, which is in 3.4 of the report, it does actually refer to the event management plan, which we submitted 12 weeks prior to each event anyway. So what that would mean, if something wasn't working on one occasion, then they can actually bring it in through the Event Safety Advisory Group to change that management plan. So that would obviously be a working document dependent on the nature of the music, you know, and what the responsible authorities and other persons within the Event Safety Advisory Group feel should be tightened up on. So it is a working document. So I think it would be unfair at this stage, really, even though you want to submit it, it's quite a large document, but all parties may not have seen that, you know, the objectives as well. But I just want to make a point that it will be a working document because there's a condition in the licence application anyway.
Thanks, and thanks, Mr. Mahmood, for that offer. But I think at this stage, you know, that would not be sort of practical, and I don't think it would be fair. But you know, we certainly note your point. So we'll
Excuse me, Councillor.
Councillor Neil, I can see you've got your hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Your sound cut out slightly briefly when you were just summarising, and it's just the technical question: where do we go for the link for a separate meeting?
I think Richard Williams from Democratic Services will correct me if I'm wrong, but we actually stay on this meeting, and people in the chamber go out. So it's not as in, you know, this is a new system, as you know, and we stay in the chamber and make our deliberations, you know, virtually or in person, and then invite the other participants who've been here up until this point back. Richard, you want to correct me if I'm wrong there?
Yes, Chair, that's absolutely correct. If members could remain online where you are now, we'll go into deliberations. I will pause the live stream shortly, and then you can have your deliberations meeting. So thank you for that.
Right, thanks. And can I suggest that, you know, for members, myself included, can we have a quick sort of your mic off now, Alistair, please.
Sorry, as far as I thought it was off, I hadn't turned it on.
All right, yeah, you're shown in red.
Excuse me, Chair. I've unpaused the live stream now, so we are streaming again now, and everyone's back in the room.
Okay. Well, we'll restart the meeting now. We've gone through the deliberations for this application, this license application. We obviously discussed it at some length, and thanks for your patience. The decision of the panel, having taken into account resident concerns and obviously sympathetic to that, and also the mitigating factors put forward by the applicant, we have decided to grant the license, but with certain conditions. So I'm going to hand over now to Mr. Julian Saunders, who's solicitor with Monmouthshire County Council, who will give the reasons and the conditions that we are imposing in terms of permitting the licence. I'll hand over to Julian Saunders. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. It was a unanimous decision by the licensing committee to grant the licence. They have imposed some conditions in respect of the granting of that licence, which I will go through with you. In respect of the reasons given by the licensing committee, they felt the mitigations and the commitments that were given by the applicants in this case in respect of the noise, the control of traffic, were adequate. The licensing committee granted the application of the licence on the provision the hours are amended in respect of the sale of late night refreshments and the supply of alcohol, and those hours are as follows. In respect of late night refreshments, the hours are to be on a Thursday between 11 a.m. until midnight, Friday and Saturday from 11 a.m. until midnight, and on a Sunday 11 a.m. until midnight.
Can I intervene there? Late night refreshments commences at 2300 hours. There is no licensable activity before that. So just to make it clear that the late night refreshment will have to be 2300 hours to 2400 hours.
My apologies.
Okay.
My apologies. So my apologies. So the amended hours: Thursday 2300 hours until midnight, Friday and Saturday 2300 hours until midnight, and Sunday 2300 hours until midnight. In respect of the supply of alcohol, Thursday 11 a.m. until midnight, Friday and Saturday 11 a.m. until midnight, and Sunday 11 a.m. until midnight. The committee gave the following reasons for the amendments of hours in relation to the sale of alcohol and the late night refreshments. The amended hours are consistent with other large events held locally and nationally, and the committee took into account the concerns that have been expressed today by the local residents. The responses given by the applicant in respect of the request for the extended opening hours for the sale of alcohol and the late night refreshments were unconvincing. Whilst the sale of alcohol and late night refreshments is to cease at midnight, the event can still continue until 2 a.m. for the provision of plays, films, live music, recorded music, and the performance of dance on a Friday and Saturday. And the licensing committee agree with the other conditions recommended by Gwent Police. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Saunders, for giving our rationale. Obviously, the decision has been given now with those particular conditions. Thank you all for your time and for your inputs this morning. And I now declare the meeting closed. Thank you very much.